what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the Toronto Pro Super Show. That lineup just got posted today, and it's actually a pretty impressive open bodybuilding lineup. Now, just to clarify, this show will be on Sunday. So typically shows are Saturday night. This one will be Sunday night, June 9th, this weekend. So just to clarify, Sunday, not Saturday. So let's go through this lineup and we'll talk about some of the recent physique updates from some of the front runners here. Because really, like I said, this is a little bit more impressive than I thought it was going to be. So you've got Dan Affin, Prince Bobang, Tim Budeshiem. So Tim was just 7th place at the New York Pro. Looks like he's continuing on to the Toronto Pro to try to get that Olympia qualification. Vladimir Byruk, Gianluca De Lorenzo, Jonathan Duncan, Quint Araya, Ethan Grossman, John Jewett, Jang Min Lee, Hassan Mostafa, Nate Spear, Robin Strand, Brent Swanson, and Akim Williams. So first off, I want to talk about Akim Williams. So let's look at his recent physique update. This really isn't that recent. It was from May 18th, but you guys know Akim doesn't really post very consistently. He doesn't really say much, and he doesn't really show much. So he took a little bit of an extended break here after a top 3 placing at the Arnold Classic UK, 3rd behind Samson and Hadi. Much better than his 6th place placing at the Arnold Classic Ohio. Looking to get his Olympia qualification here. So of all the guys that we already knew for sure were doing it, like Quint Beastwood, like John Jewett, like Hassan Mostafa, I think Akim's name being on this list is one of the guys that I think could really change things here. And he could even be a new frontrunner in this lineup. But kind of like I talked about with Hassan and also with Quinton, and one of the strengths that I think of John Jewett, conditioning. That's something that Akim has struggled with as well. And you even saw that difference from the Arnold Classic Ohio to the Arnold Classic UK, how much better he was in the UK. And that's why he was top 3 at the Arnold Classic UK and then barely top 6 at the Arnold Classic Ohio. Because his conditioning just really seems to fluctuate from show to show. Even though I think both showings, Ohio and UK, were relatively good showings for him, he still needs to get that Olympia qualification. And in a lineup like this is where I feel like whoever is really conditioned is going to be really dangerous, because you've got these guys like Akim, really big bodybuilder. You've got a guy like Quint Beastwood, really tall, really aesthetic, decent amount of size. Hassan Mostafa, kind of a little mass monster. But they're all guys that kind of struggle with conditioning. So if you get a guy like John Jewett or a guy even like Tim Budeshiem in here, that's what makes this a dynamic, interesting show. And I wasn't entirely sure that Akim was going to do this one. I thought he might do Vancouver instead of Toronto, but it turns out he's doing Toronto. Maybe he does both. And we did also get a physique update from one of the other guys that was added to this lineup, Tim Budeshiem. In the update that he posted today with Martin Fitzwater and Brett Wilkin, he looks really good, and that's what kind of surprised me about Tim at the New York Pro. Well, I guess it didn't really surprise me because we've kind of seen this happen with him before, where he looks really impressive in these Instagram pictures, really conditioned, but still pretty full, relatively big bodybuilder, but then just kind of doesn't really look the same on stage. It just doesn't really translate, and the placings don't really translate. Like 7th at the New York Pro, not a horrible placing, but I kind of felt like he would be higher based on how he looked on Instagram. So looking at this Instagram picture, yeah, he looks really impressive, and he looks big next to Martin. He looks big next to Brett, even though they both have the optimal out-angling position on him. You guys know, being in the center is the worst if you don't want to get out-angled. The guys on the sides are getting that good stretch on the fisheye with their arms. The closer you are to the center, the smaller you look. We all know this, but he still looks pretty big. But now we've got ourselves a really interesting lineup with the addition of Akim, I think with the addition of Tim. One of the front runners prior to this, I think, was Quint Beastwood. You look at Quint Beastwood's latest update, posting a side-by-side difference of 5 days out from New York versus 5 days out from Toronto. I believe on the left is the New York Pro 5 days out, and on the right is the Toronto 5 days out. He says there's a 10-pound difference between the two pictures. So one of the main criticisms of Quinton at the New York Pro was that he was lacking fullness in his upper body. It didn't really balance out with the lower body. That was one of the things that I noticed myself, and that seems to be what a lot of other people noticed as well. Now, looking at the difference between these two photos, it would appear that his upper body looks fuller on the right than it does in the left. He looks like he's fuller at 5 days out for this prep, which might be a really good thing for him. Look at his shoulders, look at his chest, look at his arms. I think you can see a noticeable amount of fullness compared to the New York Pro picture, especially in those parts of the upper body that were lacking that. Now, I will say, you've got to kind of look at this and say he's hitting the poses a little bit differently in some of these pictures. The side chest is a little bit different. I feel like the front lat spread is a little bit more, brought forward. His shoulders and arms are brought forward a little bit more. The front double bicep kind of looks like it's a slightly different angle than the first one. But overall, yes, I think he does look fuller in the upper body. And yes, I think that's going to be good for him. But who's the clear front runner here? It's really hard to say. And I think that's why this show is going to be an interesting one, because I don't think we have a clear front runner for the Toronto Pro. You've got a really just interesting group of guys that I think are kind of going to be on that top end, first call out guys like Akim, John, Hassan will probably still be first call out, Quint, Beastwood, Tim Budeshiem. Those are some very different physiques in that group. And a lot of those guys are really good bodybuilders, but have been really hit or miss throughout their career. Quint Beastwood, amazing physique. The reality is he's been hit or miss. Akim Williams, amazing physique. The reality is he's been hit or miss. Hassan Mostafa, freaky, crazy physique, ultra-muscular guy. The reality is he's been extremely hit or miss. So I would submit to you guys that this is probably going to be a really competitive show. And probably no matter who wins this thing, we're probably going to be surprised with who qualifies for the Olympia and wins the Toronto Pro. Because I feel like it could be any of these guys. And then Hassan, he posted another update. He said this one is from today. This one is really recent. He looks a little bit tanner. He looks a little bit more conditioned. The last update he posted yesterday, but he said was from about 2 weeks ago. But even in this one, this would put him just days out from stepping on stage. I still am just not seeing the level of conditioning that I feel like he's going to need to do well here, because the thing about Hassan is, while yes, he's got this crazy muscular physique, even though I said in the last video, I do think he looks a little bit downsized here, and maybe that's from the time that he took off, the medical issues that he had. I don't know, but he doesn't look as big and full and freaky as he usually does. But the thing with him is his midsection is very, very blocky no matter how hard he tries to control it. So when he does well at these shows, it's when his conditioning is actually on point and he really, really nails it. Because when you've got the size that he has, or at least the size that he had, you come in with crazy enough conditioning, certain things like that are going to be overlooked. The blocky midsection, but you're peeled and you're the most muscular guy on stage, you're probably still going to win. So in any scenario, I feel like with Hassan, where he's lacking that crazy level of conditioning, it really hurts him. Because we're not talking about a guy like Samson that has a lot of muscle, but a beautiful physique, great flow. So Samson can sometimes get away with not having that crazy level of conditioning. A guy that doesn't have that flow and doesn't have that shape is not going to get away with it, and that's the position that I feel like Hassan is in. And looking at this video, like I said, this would be days out from competing. It just doesn't look like it to me. It doesn't look like he's bringing that level of conditioning, the level that he needs. But let me know, now that you guys have this lineup, what are your top 3 predictions? Actually, just give me your top 5 or 6. I want to know who you guys think is going to rise to the top of this lineup. Like I said, I'm kind of looking at Tim, Quentin, John, Hassan, Akim. What is that, 5 guys there? I feel like that's likely going to be your top grouping, but I feel like it could go any way. And even with Akim, I feel like he is one of the more elite level bodybuilders here. He's been around for a while. He's had some really big wins, some really high placings. He's done well at really big shows. He's done well at the Olympia. He's been first call out there. He's been first call out at the Arnold's, but his update isn't really that recent. It's hard to really tell. Now, another show that's right around the corner is the Empro Classic, and one of the guys that's doing that show is Milos Sarcev's bodybuilder, client, I should say, and that would be Behrooz Tabani. Now, Behrooz is one of the guys that has been unable to compete at the Olympia because of visa issues, and he's from Iran. And I think he's looking really good in this update. And at this upcoming Empro Classic, we're going to have a little bit of a battle on our hands. You've got William Bonac doing that show, Michael Krizo doing that show, Behrooz Tabani. These are all guys that have been to the Olympia. Well, qualified for the Olympia, I should say. These are all show-winning bodybuilders that qualify for the Olympia year after year, even if Beirut hasn't been able to go there. And actually, I'm sorry, I need to correct myself. It's not 3 weeks away. It's June 16th, so it's less than, it's about 2 weeks away, right? Yeah. So really, it's right around the corner. And I know that Nathan Diasha is doing the Italy show, the Flex Pro weekend, which I believe is the weekend after the Empro Classic in Spain. Yeah, it is. So that's June 22nd through the 23rd. And then the Empro that we're talking about is the 15th and 16th. So it is the week after. So I think there's probably a chance you could see Nathan hop in both. So June, so far, is looking to be a highly competitive month for bodybuilding. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Give me your predictions, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NICKS&P, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.